Are you like us? Tired of all the politically correct horseshit on podcasts and in the media? Need a podcast that's funny, smart, and gassy? It's not politically correct. It's just correct. This is the Carolina Underground. Throw that middle finger in the air. Raise them up. Because it's time to get loud, proud, and in your face. Generation X. Generation X. The best generation of all time meets the grit of the South. It's about everything and nothing at all. From current events to woolly boogers to movies to politics. Loud, brash, funny, and never, and I do mean never, predictable. The Carolina Underground with Mark and Mike.
Yo, 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 yo. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, do not adjust the channel. We are back again with the Carolina Underground, and I'm here with my partner in high crimes and misdemeanors on the big screen up on the Bat Cave, coming to me live from Sparkleberry. Woo! We're back.
Good gracious.
Can you tell I've had about 6 pots of coffee today?
Yeah, and that's it for tonight. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Because we just a bunch of morons and don't know nothing no way.
Well, we may have to say something about politics this evening. I don't know.
Oh, really? What's going on?
Well, you know, they got that judge that got herself arrested. She got the congressman or the congresswoman body slamming cops at the ICE facility.
Oh,
and,
nice.
You know, of course, the judges that are.
I thought WrestleMania was a few weeks ago.
Oh, no. They decided to storm the ICE facility, and they can tour the ICE facility anytime they want to. You just have to give them notice so that they're not working with prisoners. And
right.
So,
well, I mean, that seems like that would be a safety protocol.
You would think so, and you would think it would have a little bit of common sense adjusted or attached to it. But no, what they were doing again, they were attempting to create a photo opportunity, and of course they're claiming that they were roughed up and they're now. I mean, again, okay, so then and all of this stuff. So you had a whole mass of people that were wandering through the Capitol building, which of course when Republican or, the January Sixers did it, they called it an insurrection. And I mean, this looked like more people, honestly, that were in there. But of course there's nothing being said about it. But again, here's the thing. And again, the activist judges. All right. And I'm going to say something that is probably going to be a little controversial.
No.
Really?
I don't believe that one bit.
No, well, let's see how it goes. I support what they're doing within certain bounds. If they were actually correct about anything, okay, and Republicans were all Nazis and everything, then you would need that courage to stand up against the things that were wrong that are being done. But the fact of the matter is, everything that they're doing, these people that are standing up, is trying to hang on to, theft, fraud, and corruption in the government, which has been going on for the past 40 years. I mean, they've gotten used to it. They're used to living large on the
They like them
dollar.
snouts in the trough, baby.
Oh man, yeah.
Snuffling it up. They in high cotton.
Yeah. That's what and that's where the whole problem comes from, and
hey, I like high cotton myself.
I'm with you.
And for people that don't understand the term high cotton, and don't live in the South, high cotton was the cotton that was the easiest to pick.
Yep. There you have
it. It wasn't the hard stuff. It was what you wanted to be assigned, because that was the easiest task. I know, because we raised that for a couple years, and that's just about as bad as working in tobacco.
I hear you. Well, and of course, what Midland time is too. That's another one that folks weren't raised down in the South don't have any idea what fair to middling
Nope.
means.
Fair. They ain't got no clue.
Yep.
Or come up a cloud or
Right.
anything like that. Bunch of ignorant fuckers.
They can't help it. They,
You know what? I've been thinking about something. I got a package in the mail from the Amazon the other day.
all right.
And I'm just wondering, I got like 8 bath towels. I mean, these are big bath towels because I got a big ass,
All right.
right? I mean, these towels are like 60 inches long, right?
All right.
I like them big and fluffy, like
Uh,
my wife.
all right. There you go.
But who was the first person to ever think we gonna put stuff in a plastic bag and vacuum the air out of it so it sucks it down to where it's about the size of a credit card?
Well, that they used to sell a thing where you could vacuum. They had these bags you could pack them full of your stuff and then vacuum them out.
Oh,
So
I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah,
Yeah, that used to be on the TV commercial.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
like an infomer. I remember that. But it's like I'm looking at this and it's like, okay, I get it when the manufacturer does it, but like if they're sending it to me and they want me to buy it like on the TV or the QVC or something like that, why am I going to take the time to vacuum pack my clothes? I can't even find the time to vacuum the damn floor in the bat cave.
Well, I understand that feeling. If I didn't have my robot vacuum, I'd be neck deep in dust bunny.
Well, I do have one, but I will tell you this.
Hmm.
It scares my little baby Flossie dog. So the robot vacuum got taken out and put up because Flossie comes first.
Well, I can understand that. I
Yeah,
do
well, I
indeed.
mean, that's just smart thinking.
Yep.
I mean, I'm from the South. I have sense.
Yep. Now I'm
Boy,
thinking.
I can tell you right now, I can feel it already. We're going to piss somebody off this episode.
Well,
And
I'm
I don't
sure
know
we
what we're
will.
going to piss them off about, but we're going to piss them off. I know one thing. I have got everything in order that I want because we getting ready to plate everything in gold, baby.
All righty. Well, back to
Hey,
the
the value of gold's going to the toilet.
really.
And I'm going to tell you why.
Well, tell me
In
why.
case you hadn't heard the news, I'm moving to Switzerland because them rascals at CERN have done what the alchemists of the Middle Ages swore they could do and nobody could ever prove.
Oh, okay. Turning lead and
They
gold.
have turned lead into gold,
Yep, I
and it
read
is
about that.
proven.
Yep.
And so I want gold shoes. Flossie wants some gold teeth, wants a gold collar, some gold toenail covers. I just want a lot of gold. I mean, it ain't going to be worth nothing anymore anyway. We can just make it.
Well, yeah, we can, but do you know how much energy it takes to make? I mean, I did read that article actually, and it takes just an incredible amount of energy to make even the tiniest little bit fraction of
Yeah, but
gold.
that's not my problem. That's Switzerland's problem.
Well,
I
you
mean,
got to have a collider to start with, and them things aren't cheap. And then you got to
well,
have,
they done built one. It's got them mountains over there.
well, I know it. They got CERN, the biggest one. I think they were talking about building one that was even bigger than the CERN collider.
Well, I don't know how they're gonna get any bigger than that. I know I read an article about something. There was this town somewhere,
Hmm.
and hold on, I wrote it down. Let me find my notes because sometimes I do have notes. I don't remember where they're at, but some half the time I do have them. There's a town somewhere that's got people what live in it.
Hmm.
Skidmore, Missouri.
Okay.
And I found this very interesting. Back in, I would say, probably in the early 80s, there was a man named Ken McElroy that lived in Skidmore, Missouri.
Okay.
And all his life, Ken McElroy was an asshole.
Okay.
He bullied everybody from the grocery bagger to the mayor to the police people to the little old ladies at the Baptist church, fish fry, to everything.
Hmm.
And at some point in 1981, on the town's main drag, Mr. Skidmore had parked his pickup truck and was getting out of it.
Hmm.
and there were 50 people on Main Street that day. 2 of them stepped up and shot that son of a bitch to death.
Okay.
And did you know not one of them 50 people ever said a word, ever called an ambulance, or ever told the police? And so that was the day that a town got away with murder. And that is a true story.
Well, and that kind of goes back to the point that I was making initially that I never got to finish, which,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. But again, here's the thing. Here's where, so again, if they were actually right about anything that they are in, that their knickers are knotted about, then you
Uh,
would need to have that kind of dedication to your beliefs to stand up against
well,
the
that's
evil.
called
Okay.
conviction.
Right.
The courage of your convictions.
But see, here's the point. They don't have courage of their convictions because they don't want to be held accountable based on the same rules that they set up to hold everybody else accountable by. I mean, again, the people who were screaming, "No one is above the law," when they were inventing charges against Trump, are now saying, "Oh, but we have immunity because this is the judge, the woman judge that let that kid or let that
Oh, that was this the
criminal,
one in Wisconsin about the illegal
yeah,
alien?
the illegal alien go out the back door of the courtroom." Uh, but she claims that she is immune because she was in performing her duties. Now, I
I
think
didn't
that's
know
a
letting
stretch.
criminals go was a performance of a judge's duty.
Yeah, that's kind of my take on it as well. But again, here's the thing. So yeah, you need to have courage of your convictions and stand
Hmm.
behind what you believe in because like the song says, you got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. Now, the but the thing is, it's another song. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. That's from the old Beretta show back a million
Oh,
years ago.
that is pulling out the old stuff there.
Yeah, but
That was a good show though. I remember Beretta.
I loved his bird. But at any rate, the end result of all of this stuff is, you got to go into it. That's when you've got conviction, you go into it knowing what the consequences of your actions are. And
And you
then that's
continue to
courage.
and you move through it even though you know what the
Right.
consequences are going to be.
But you don't cry
Well, I'm going to
foul
tell you,
after you get in, when the consequences come due. But go ahead, sir.
I got a phone call
I'm sorry to
the
hear
other
that.
day. It was last week.
Yep.
I don't know if we talked about this because we hadn't talked since sometime. I don't remember when. It's been a while.
Too long. Yep.
Well, I turned them down. I just couldn't find the time to do it. So they tapped the old boy from Chicago to do it.
All right.
Well, I mean, I don't look good in white, and I didn't have time to be Pope.
Oh,
So
okay. I got you. I
so
got
they got them old boy from Chicago to do it because I told them I don't look good in white, and I don't like wearing little dresses. So I'm just gonna stay at home and play with my dog.
you. Well, there you go. Well, and
The 267th Pope. And I have seen so much crap on TikTok. I don't know where they come up with this stuff. I read a lot of Nostradamus when we were in school
you're
and
talking
stuff like
about
that.
Malachi, not Nostradamus, but go
Well, no,
ahead.
I'm just making not necessarily Malachi. I'm just talking about all this prophecy stuff. And what I really find amazing is no matter what happens
Mm-hmm.
in the news or in the world, somebody has found a prophecy that says that this is ushering in the end of time.
Well,
When
I
my grandmother was a little girl,
mhm.
her mother and father would not let her go see the movie Gone with the Wind because Clark Gable said, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." And cussing in that movie was the beginning of the end of time.
Well, having looked at the progression over the time frame since that movie was released, I don't know that the argument is completely invalid.
Hey, but
Just
there
saying.
was one truth. If there was one truth ever spoken in that movie, and I think that was what 1936. Is
Hmm.
that when that came out?
Something like that.
There is one valid truth that stands the test of time and is as valid today as it was uttered on the big screen in
Mhm.
Gone with the Wind.
And what might that be?
I don't know nothing about birthing no babies.
Oh, yep. No, I'm right there too. Miss Scarlet, Miss Scarlet.
I don't know nothing about it. I love that line.
That is a good
Love
line.
it. Actually, it is a pretty good movie. And the funnier the part, and I don't know, I was not planning on talking about Gone with the Wind tonight, but my favorite part there,
Feeling a
there
little
are two.
gassy, are we?
We are. My favorite thing about Gone with the Wind, though, was, well, there was two things. That the movie, The Ya-Ya Sisterhood, I think it was The Ya-Ya Sisterhood,
Mhm.
to where evidently they're, the younger Sandra Bullock's playing the younger daughter, and she thinks her mother hates her and all this stuff, but she doesn't realize her mother's history. So her mother's friends kidnap her and tell her the history of her mama.
Okay.
And so it's actually a really good movie. I will
Mhm.
say that. But there's a part of it that when they were little, they go to their aunt's house in Atlanta,
Mhm.
and she is nouveau riche, but they were going for the premiere of Gone with the Wind, and they were dressed in period clothing and all that.
Mhm.
And it was just, I'm not going to say what they said, but let's say Junior, who was the one of the characters' cousin,
Mhm.
and Aunt what's her name's son,
Mhm.
the little girls traveled with a much beloved caretaker named Lowetta, who, and this is in the 30s in the South. So, I mean, it was not a safe place for
Mhm.
African American people,
True.
particularly in Georgia and Atlanta and the deep South.
Mhm.
Well, Junior, these girls, I think, lived around somewhere around New Orleans or Baton Rouge or somewhere around in there. They were in New Orleans
Mhm.
or around in Louisiana.
Mhm.
And Junior said something that he shouldn't have said to Lowetta, and he's dressed in like a Confederate general's uniforms, and the girls are in these ball gowns, and they just start throwing all their breakfast food at him and smacking him in the side of the face. And when their aunt says something at him, that girl looks at him and said, "If you don't tell the junior to stop it with that old half-wit, I'm gonna sock it to him again." But that's the second favorite. My favorite thing about Gone with the Wind is
Mhm.
Carol Burnett's take on it when she's wearing the curtains with a curtain rod.
Yeah.
And that I watch that ever so often. The Carol Burnett was a genius. I wish she was, bless her heart, she's 90 some years old now, I
Mhm.
think.
Mhm.
I wish she was still on TV, but I rewatch a lot of the Carol Burnett show. I've been rewatching it a lot here lately.
Mhm.
And you think about it, we had a lot of those variety shows in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
We don't realize how good television was
Oh, I
until
know.
we have the crap that we have today.
Oh,
I
think
mean,
about dude,
I even miss Hee Haw.
think about Red Skelton, the
Oh
Red
yeah,
Skelton show.
Benny Hill.
Benny Hill. I mean, again, but that was before political correctness took hold. Which,
Well,
do
wasn't
you
it's like,
recall what the definition that Eisenhower shared with MacArthur about what when he asked what political correctness was?
no, I do not. What's enlighten me?
It is attempting to pick up a turd by the clean end.
Oh well, yeah. But I mean, it's like nowadays I'm watching TV, right, and I just finished. We'll talk about this show in a minute, but I don't want to have any spoilers in it. But Andor, the
Okay.
Disney Plus series about Rogue One, the prequel to Rogue One,
Right.
which is the prequel to the original Star Wars
Yeah.
movie.
A
It's
New
where
Hope.
they get
Yeah.
right. And I was watching it, and I was sitting there thinking, and whether you believe it or not, if we, and because you and I have talked about Star Wars many times. Star Wars, if you look at Star Wars and you look at how it runs and how it works, Star Wars has always been kind of a wokish, even when Lucas did the original.
Oh yeah.
That was that California hippie crap.
Sure.
But it's like I was watching this show, and I was sitting there thinking about what would happen if this was written like All in the Family. And
All right.
that's, but I mean, but All in the Family, they didn't pull any punches.
So now, but was
I mean,
was
it was an accurate depiction of blue collar life in the 70s at that time.
Well, in New York, yeah.
Well, but a lot of the sentiment of what Archie felt and a lot of the preconceptions and biases were
We're
not
probably
only
pretty accurate. Yeah.
right. I mean, that wasn't just in New York. That
Right.
was more of a prevalent thought base. And I'm sitting here thinking, we now it's still on in reruns,
Mhm.
but if that was a brand new show today,
It would never make it.
there never would have been a second season.
Yeah, that's like, all the jokes about, Blazing Saddles having been edited for, modern,
Did they edit
modern
it?
stand. No, no, this is one of the jokes you see all the time. That, Blazing Saddles, having been edited for, current political correctness climate, will
Hmm.
air tonight from, 8 o'clock to 8:05.
Oh, kind of like our take on the State of the Union last year or the year before.
Yeah, exactly. It would, I mean, again, it's the whole problem is, I mean, again, yes, there were a lot of prejudices,
Hmm.
in the old South, but people could laugh at themselves.
Well, and the key was it not necessarily that they could laugh at themselves. And I'm not talking about. I know there's bad people on
Hmm.
both sides. I'm not.
Sure.
I'm not arguing that fact. But they also understood at that time that if you wanted to get anything done, whether you were for something or against something,
Hmm.
that you were going to have to work with the other people and meet in the middle. And that is where we are lacking today because it's either all or nothing either way,
Hmm.
and that's it.
Well, again, that's the whole thing. It's the creation of the aristocratic class, which led to the deep state and all of the graft and corruption. And I mean, again, when you have those, I mean, you can look back through history to, to England prior to the Magna Carta, and you see all of the abuses of the aristocrats and the landed gentry of the peasantry. And they like that. They like to have
Mhm.
that power.
Well,
And
I'm gonna be
that,
honest with you. Hey, there was one thing if the peasants, when they get married, where the lord of the manor reserved the right to have the wedding night
prima
first.
nocte, yeah.
Well, I mean, depends on how good looking they was, but I could get in for some of that.
Well,
My
but
wife don't put out like she used to.
yeah, but it wouldn't have been you getting busy with the queen. It would have been the king getting busy with your wife, or the lord, or whatever of the area. But
Well, I
again,
was gonna be the lord of the manor. I wasn't gonna be a peasant.
oh, I see. I hear you. Okay.
I wasn't gonna start at the bottom. I was gonna start in the middle.
Well, no, that would be at the top, because there wasn't any such thing as a middle class. It was, you were either aristocracy or a peasant, and in
Well, I
feudal
would be
society,
aristocracy.
you
I
know,
have a noble profile.
I'm not quite sure that it was your profile that got you into the club, but we'll roll
But
with that.
anyway, now I'm gonna give you my take on Andor.
Okay.
Season 2.
Okay.
Season 1 I enjoyed, I will admit that. And I'm going to be honest with you, the Andor series is probably the best TV series of Star Wars with the exception of some of the animated stuff cuz I
Hmm.
still say Star Wars Rebels
Hmm.
and Star Wars Resistance are two of the best shows that have ever been put out
Hmm.
concerning Star Wars and the stories in the Star Wars universe. But
Okay.
Andor first season I really enjoyed. The second season, the first episode, it started out pretty good. And
Hmm.
the problem that I have found is normally when I watch television, I'm watching it as I'm laying down and winding down for the day.
Okay.
And this was more, do you ever remember watching like it was more cerebral, it was more political to
Hmm.
where you're seeing how things were working in the empire at the time for spies and all this stuff. And I'm not going to give away the endings for people that hadn't seen it because I know the last 3 episodes of season 2 just dropped like Tuesday.
Hmm.
But I will say this: there is one particular character in Andor that the whole entire season 2, I have wanted just to take that bat Lucille from The Walking Dead
Hmm.
and just beat the pre-immortal shit out of that bitch.
The blonde.
Yes, I hate that bitch.
Oh, I know. I understand.
And I'm not gonna say what happens to her, but I will say this: although something bad does befall her, it is nowhere near what it should have been.
No, I would. Well, I don't know. That was pretty. That. Well, I can't say anything too much because all
I
of that
think she
was
should have
second
been
season.
sent to Mustafar and let Lord Vader deal with her for a little while.
Alrighty.
She could have been Lord Vader's lava concubine,
I love
something
you.
like that.
I love you, buying.
A lavubine. There we go.
I don't know.
But I will say this:
Mhm.
if all of the Star Wars movies, because I'm gonna say that the first three, the problem with George Lucas is he just kind of makes stuff up on the fly,
Yeah,
and then he hears something that might be good and said, "Oh yeah, that's the way it works." I'm not.
sure,
Yeah, that's good. That's good, and that's okay. I mean, because it's his intellectual property. Well, it
sure.
was,
Mm,
but at least the first three movies, 4, 5, and 6, were cohesive and moved a storyline.
true.
And if you watch that show, Behind Something, it's on Amazon Prime. I can't remember. I was talking about it the other day, but there is a series on Star Wars, and I think it's 6 episodes, and it's talking about as he progressed through it and was making it and all this
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
And truthfully, the first two movies, if
Hmm.
it had not been for George Lucas's ex-wife, they probably would have bombed,
Hmm.
because she was the one that edited it and put it on together
Hmm.
so it would bring the emotion and all of that out. And it they were good. The first three, I found a kind of new appreciation for them.
Hmm.
At first, I really didn't like them. I did like Revenge of the Sith, which I think was the number 3,
Yeah.
where Anakin becomes Vader. But the 7, 8, and 9,
Hmm.
it's like Barack Obama's book, baby. I wouldn't wipe my ass with it.
I have to agree here's my point. This is one of the things that I see very frequently. And I recently rewatched Heroes.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And the trap that they fall into is that um, very few of these serials can keep the entire cast of favorite characters, of favored characters for any
Hmm.
period of time. One of the very few that was able to do that for a long period of time was The Walking Dead. But they lost. They did sacrifice a significant number of their favorites.
Hmm.
And the thing is, that and the whole problem that I had with episodes 1, 2, and 3 was that they felt like they needed to insert so many of the characters um, that would come in 4, 5, and well, yeah, episodes 4, 5, and 6, which of course were
Okay.
actually the first 3 episodes. You know this, yeah.
Right.
But and again, the way that they were inserted, I kind of felt like was a little bit contrived and formulaic, and I
Well, and
don't
I
think
agree
it.
with that, because I think the formula they were shooting for,
Mhm.
particularly even in 7, 8, and 9,
Mhm.
they were looking at the merchandising aspect. Because in Return of the Jedi, you had the
Right.
Ewoks.
Yeah.
In 9, you had, or 7, 8, 9, you had them little things that Chewbacca was talking about
Yeah.
roasting, and they were sitting there looking at him.
Right.
And then you had Jar Jar Binks,
Yeah.
which was the Jar, yeah, and which all the stuff. And I mean, it's just Lucas kept his mind, and I think he had smart enough people around him to keep him cued in on the fact that there needs to be something that would be a hook,
Yeah.
particularly for kids,
Sure.
for merchandising. Because I'm gonna guarantee you, I'll bet, because he had all the rights to all of it.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So I guarantee you, he made more off of merchandising than he did off of the movies,
Well,
or I would think that he would have anyway.
that was. I'm not sure if Mattel was it Mattel or was it I can't recall. I don't
I
know
think
that they
Hasbro was I think
you're
was it
with
Mattel or was it Hasbro?
well, regardless, I was actually talking about Transformers because
Oh,
the
oh, oh, oh.
entirety, and it might have been Hasbro. It was either Mattel or Hasbro. I thought that marketed the Transformers in the United States at least. But regardless, that entire cartoon series was
Was an
created
advertisement for the
as an
toys.
advertisement for the toys. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I think the He-Man was a similar thing. But again, that's a formula that they create. I don't recall when. I haven't done the research on when it was created, but that is very much the formula that so much of cinema and television goes by these days.
Hmm.
Is anything that you create is going to have, they're going to make more money off of it's like sports. Everything you see, sports and games, everything you see in sports and games is all about gambling. Now, I mean, shit, you can
Hmm.
gamble at solitaire for goodness sakes now.
Not in baseball if you work for them, because you'll
Well,
never make
no,
the Hall of Fame.
they have Pete Rose, by the way, in reference to that, has been pardoned, which it's kind of not a big deal. Everybody's uptight about it and claims that Trump
Well,
had
it's not
something to
that he
do with
was.
it.
Well, no, it
It
wasn't that he
was
wasn't pardoned. The
it
guy said he died, so he was banned
right.
for life. He's dead.
Yep.
But here's my thing:
Hmm.
if you were going to put him in the Hall of Fame,
Hmm.
you should have put him in while he was alive, so he could have made something off of it. If you
Hmm.
put it in him in it now, this is just a money grab by Major League Baseball.
Oh, it absolutely is.
And if
100%
I
is.
was his family, I would sue the shit out of them and tell them to take the Hall of Fame and stick it where the sun don't shine.
Well, but yeah, again, that's the point. The Pete Rose, he and again a similar situation with Shoeless Joe Jackson. Now the big difference is Pete Rose was betting on himself and his team to win. He was never betting against himself.
Right,
And
and
the
I don't
big
understand what's wrong with that. If you're confident enough that you can win to bet on yourself, why not?
Well, that's kind of the whole point, and that's the argument is that the people that had him banned were
A bunch of
also
sore
they
losers.
were also gambling, and it was a
Well,
scam.
it's like this.
Hmm.
Baseball ain't nothing but a bunch of schmucks and that ain't never been good since Beat Rose quit playing anyway, so fuck them.
Well, I'm not sure how you feel, Mike. Don't
They
hold
can
back
take
like
them
that.
bats, pull their little tight britches down, and set on them bats right on the infield, and I wouldn't give a shit.
Okay, that's a little graphic. And
I
and
think we
and
just lost our G rating.
and they wouldn't be, and neither would they be able to after sitting on their bat for quite some time, I would think.
Well, I mean, that there is nothing that gets me more than
Mhm,
these people that are athletes and get paid these millions of dollars
mhm,
to play a kid's game and then want to, like we were just talking about, paying Lord of the Manor to where they think they're above everybody else and all of this crap. And it's like, dude, not by the grace of God goes you and I. It's only just happens that you grew up playing some stupid game that you and had a talent for it that you could get to it. It's not
mhm.
like you are really anything all that special because truthfully, I would rather pay to watch somebody conduct a damn science experiment that's going to do something cool than watch you run down a field with 12 other people chasing you.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I'll remember that next time I'm running
Unless
down a
un,
field with people chasing me.
unless unless you play for the University of Florida, then it's okay.
Well, again, that's one of the reasons I would much rather watch amateur sports
Yeah,
than
but it's not
anything
now. It ain't gonna
professional or
matter though because,
semi-professional.
like University of Kentucky, all of these schools are spinning their sports programs off into LLCs because they're gonna have to start paying the athletes.
Yeah, and you know what? I just, it's one of those things. This again, what we're dealing with is the same thing where we've got people that are making the rules, and the rules that they're making benefit them directly
Hmm.
and specifically.
Well,
And
what I don't understand is you get a scholarship to go to school free.
mhm,
So technically, aren't you getting paid anyway to be there?
I agree. And it's one of those things where the whole
Once
problem,
again, unless you go to the University of Florida, they can do no wrong. They're the best ever.
well, the point of
And if you're not in the SEC, you suck.
the point of the matter that I'm trying to get to is the love of money is the root of all evil, and it rears its head every time you turn around. I mean, the whole.
How did you know that my wife's middle name was the love of money?
I am not going to respond to that because I had immediately several
And,
thoughts that would not
and
be
I guarantee
well
you
received.
that would probably be good because as soon as she hears this, I'm going to have a response and I'm probably going to have a knot on my noggin.
I,
You ever seen those videos to where the guy says, "My wife cooked a meal," and he's all black and blue?
oh yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, well, that's me. I'm done.
That's what.
I lost our G rating and I'm going to get my ass whooped.
Well, so yeah, one of my favorite shorts. This guy gives his beloved absolute grief all the time, and he went up to her and he said, "Honey, have I ever told you how much I love your cooking?" And she smiled and said, "Well, no, you haven't." And his response is, "Well, then why are you still doing it?"
That's not a bad. I ought to ask her that.
Well,
But this is the God's honest truth. When we first got married, until we decided the secret, as my wife and I have figured out the secret of marriage.
mhm,
We really have. But for the first few years, dude, I thought I was like an Aztec god.
all right.
I mean, I was just going on. Thought I was bad. I mean, I got burnt offerings every fucking night. True story.
All righty. Yep.
But we did figure out the secret of marriage, and we're still happily married.
All right, sir. If you feel like
You want
sharing,
me
go
to?
right ahead.
Well, I'll share it with you. I
I
will share it for everybody that wants to have a happy marriage.
okay. Go ahead.
When you get married and you love somebody, after you get out of the burnt offering stage where she treats you like a god, what you do is you decide one person keeps the marital house, and then
Hmm.
you buy the other person another house so you don't have to live together.
Ah.
It's a true story. I'm gonna tell you one thing: we have gotten along better.
Hmm.
And we are just so sweet and loving, and she loves me and worships the quicksand I walk on more now than she ever has. And I'm gonna tell you one thing, baby, I can strut my stuff in a mankini.
All right, that's an image that I really did not want,
That I
and
come in like a wrecking ball on that bitch.
that is. Thank you for that.
All
That's
right, I saw something. I'm gonna send you something offline later, and I'm gonna just describe it to you here. I saw something the other day that um, really kind of tickled me. It's probably one of the best uses of AI I've ever seen.
okay.
You and I both grew up in an era with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes,
Oh
the
yeah.
Nature Boy, Ric Flair, the
Hmm.
Junkyard Dog,
Hmm.
stuff like that.
Rowdy
Well,
Roddy
some
Piper.
Rowdy Roddy
Yeah.
Piper, Macho Man,
Macho Man. Yep.
the old Jake the Snake,
Hmm. Hmm.
not the drug riddled. Well, I guess he was drug riddled back then. We just didn't know it.
Right. Right.
But anyway, somebody has used AI and have taken babies and have them doing the interviews of the and I mean it is absolutely hilarious. Like
Oh
that
my goodness.
like the remember when Dusty Rhodes had that full length coyote coat that was supposed to be like $27,000.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
They've got that one. They did that one, and that one right before Starcade '85, the Hard Times one.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
put hard times on the American dream. This is me, and he reaches out. This is me reaching out to you. There's gonna be a gathering. Dude, I ate that stuff up. And I'm gonna tell you, if wrestling was still like that, I'd probably watch it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. They keep, they have to keep making it edgier and edgier and edgier.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't think that's what killed it. I think what killed it was, for lack of another term to use the term they use. I think it was the death of kayfabe,
Okay.
which is that curtain kind of like where where you don't really understand the workings in the back end.
Mm, mm,
Where like the bad guys were in a separate locker room than the good guys and they didn't travel together.
mhm,
And if they got caught in public in the same store, they by God better get in a fight or they're gonna get fired.
mhm, mhm,
And I mean that kind of because I mean some of this stuff you watch and it's like, especially when they were setting up this stuff with Dusty Rhodes and the Four Horsemen,
mhm,
I never will forget because Jim Crockett Promotions was down in Charlotte
mhm,
and they followed Dusty Rhodes as in them Cadillacs, and I mean they had like a camera crew with them. And we're thinking, God, they're horsemen. Why wouldn't they?
mhm,
I mean, yeah. And they're following in these damn big long ass Fleetwood Cadillacs, and they pull into Jim Crockett Promotions,
mhm,
and you hear a bunch of yelling, but the camera hadn't caught up with them yet. But by the time the camera catches up, Dusty Rhodes is tied to a work truck, and the horsemen are just beating the hell out of him with a ball bat and breaking his arm.
mm,
Dude,
mhm.
there were people, and I mean, really,
Right.
my wife is one of them that now she sits on the edge of her chair. I think she still thinks this shit's real.
Well, again, that was the
They were
reason.
calling for the people to get arrested because the horsemen to be arrested because that was assault.
Right. And again, it's one of the things, the story that Rowdy Roddy Piper was one of my favorite bad guys, to be honest with you, which is why I bring him up so
Well,
much.
he was a cool bad guy
He
before
was.
that was the norm.
Right. And
He was an anti-hero. He wasn't a bad guy.
well, but still, regardless,
Well, I know, but I mean, he was in a whole different class before it ever existed.
I understand. But the thing is, his leather jacket that he got, that leather jacket specifically, it was lined with steel mesh, I believe it was, because somebody stabbed him in the heart and damn near killed him. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when that leather jacket showed up, is he had to wear that all the time because people believed the character that he created
Yep.
so strongly. They were, he had several attempts on his life, but he didn't stop. Again,
Right.
that's courage in my mind. When you
Well,
know
they
what's
loved
coming.
that. Back then, they loved it. I mean, that
Oh
was
yeah.
they. And I mean, to nowadays, it's more like Logan Paul. They're in it just because they have followers or
Hmm.
something like that. And it's like I'll tell this story. I think I've told this story before, but my wife and I, and I'm sorry, my wife is featuring prominently in this episode, but I just love her. I
Hmm.
just love her.
Well, good.
But we come up watching good wrestling, not that
Hmm.
WWF bullshit, because that shit's garbage, still is garbage.
Hmm.
We watched the real stuff. We watched Jim Crockett Promotions and the NWA,
Hmm.
and we would go to all of them.
Hmm.
Well, one day when the WWE or F or whatever the hell it was when it come out with it had their little app where you could go there and you could watch all the old stuff.
Hmm.
We turned on one of them old pay-per-view. Well, I don't guess back then it was pay-per-view. Back then it was probably closed circuit.
Hmm.
One of the Starcades.
Hmm.
And we're sitting there watching that thing. And now my wife's favorite wrestling, her and I when we was younger, see, we've known each other about all our lives.
Hmm.
She just recently got smart because when she was young, she was dumb as a box of rocks. She pulled for the Rock and Roll Express, and I mean, they sucked.
Hmm.
Everybody knew the Horseman was way better,
Hmm.
but she liked the Rock and Roll Express, and bless her heart, she was just a dumb girl, so you couldn't hold it against her. So we're sitting here watching that match, and it was a tag team match, and I think it was the Rock and Roll Express versus Manny Fernandez and Rick Rude
Hmm.
for the I think it was for the NWA World Tag Team titles
Hmm.
in the cage.
Okay.
Now, see, back then there wasn't no climbing out of the cage and being a damn coward and running the hell away.
Hmm.
You used the cage as a weapon and used it as a cheese grater, and you left them for dead before you got out of that cage.
Hmm.
But anyway, we're sitting there and we're watching that thing, and I mean, this happened like in like 85, 86, somewhere around in there.
Okay.
And the match starts and the bell rings. I mean, both of us bona fidely were in the Greensboro Coliseum when this match happened.
Hmm.
Keep that in mind. We were there live. We wasn't with each other because at that time we didn't really like each other
Hmm.
because she pulled for them. I mean, face it. I mean, she didn't know who to pick. I mean, I'm sorry.
All
She
right.
didn't have good taste until she picked me.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's the fact.
I'm
But anyway,
I'm not disputing. Continue, sir.
okay. Well, I might have a point at some point. I don't know.
That's what
But
I'm waiting for. I'm on the edge of my seat, waiting for this
so,
story to have a point to it.
so anyway, we're watching this wrestling match, and Suzanne, bless her heart, I love her to death. The more this match goes on, and of course, the good guys are always going to get the shit beat out of them,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a bigger win for them when they come back, right?
Sure.
So this whole match, the Rock and Roll Express, they're getting beat down, and when they start coming back, she's leaning forward,
Mm-hmm.
and he's whacking him and drop kicking him and body slamming him, and she's leaning more forward. Get him, hit him, get him. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at her and I'm watching this, and she's about bent over double, staring fire holes through the screen with her eyeballs. She's so intently watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's into this.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally look at her and I was like, hey. And she looks at me. She says, what? They fighting. I can't watch. I can't talk right now. I said, Suzanne, do you realize this shit happened like over 40 years ago? And that you already know who's going to win? And we were there. And she looked at me and she said, you son of a bitch. But this is the same girl who loved her wrestling so much.
Mm-hmm.
Her aunt told her to spit on Ivan Koloff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Russian bear.
Yep.
So she laid a loogie right on him.
Oh, my Lord.
And I mean, this was like one of the first matches. The security drug her ass over the rail. That was the only time she ever got to touch the mats on the other side of the ringside rail. They drug her ass over it, drug her backstage, and promptly kicked her ass out of the Greensboro Coliseum.
Yep. I can see it.
This is also the same girl. If Jim Cornette, which I doubt he'd ever listen to us, because sometimes when it comes to pro wrestling, I like him. When it comes to some other things, I think he's a fucking fruitcake. I would like to meet him, though, and apologize because, unfortunately, at some point in time, Jim Cornette hit my wife's favorite wrestler in the throat with his tennis racket and supposedly fixed it to where the poor boy couldn't talk. Bless his little heart. He couldn't talk. So she writes a letter to Jim Cornette with her name and address and phone number on it, threatening to kill him.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, not only did he receive said letter, he read said letter and promptly picked up the phone and called and spoke to my wife's grandmother, who he informed her of said letter and said that he thinks that they should get my lovely bride some mental help. Which I can attest to because the bitch is crazy. And with that, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, that's the snout to the curly tail and the Democrats that pop out the pig's ass. And we gone.
Y'all have a good night.
All right, you crazy bunch of motherfuckers. Wait, can we say mother? Anyway, you've been listening to the Carolina Underground. It isn't politically correct, it's just correct. Our motto is, if you can't go balls deep, don't go at all. Actually, that's not our motto, and I'm sorry, I don't even know what that meant. All right, we gotta go. We hope you enjoyed the show. And if you didn't, we hope it really pissed you off. Follow us on Twitter at Carolina UNDGRND Underground, get it? Or drop us an email at Carolina UNDGRND, get it? At northstate.net. We want to hear from you. Y'all be cool. See you next time on Carolina Underground.